Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today is November 20th, and we are officially underway in this offseason with our first major signing in Nola. Let's talk about it. Hello, everybody. My name is Steven. This is the middle of the order. It is Monday, the start of the week, and the start of some big news. I'm just checking now. Looks like Lynn just signed also, so we'll be able to talk about that a little bit later on. But how are you guys doing today? I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. And it seems like we've got a lot of baseball to cover. The off season is kind of really starting to heat up. The hot stove is turning it on a little bit. But yeah, I hope you guys are all doing great, and we're going to dive on into our baseball news. We've got Nola signing back. We got Lynn just signing now. The Hall of Fame ballot was released, as well as the non-tender list to go over. So quite the agenda for us today. But we're going to dive right on in and start things off, of course, talking about Nola. It was announced that Nola would receive a 7-year deal with the Phillies for $172 million. That's an AAV of 24.5 mil. The deal has no opt-outs or club options. I didn't see anything about a trade clause, so it's pretty much Nola will be a Philly for those 7 years, which is pretty exciting for Phillies fans. There's a tweet by John Heyman that said that Nola met with other teams and he even turned down more money to remain in Philly. And when you read something like that, when you know a player is turning down money to stay with a team or to go to a certain team, those fans should feel honored, really. And I mean, the Phillies fans have created a kind of fan base that Nola, guys like Harper, Turner are signing these big deals that want to stay in Philly. It's a team that players want to play for right now, and it's an exciting team in the NL East that Nola will get to stay and be a part in, which is really exciting for them. He was an All-Star in 2018, where in that year he finished 13th in MVP and 3rd in the Cy Young voting. He finished 7th in Cy Young in 2020 and 4th in Cy Young in 2022. So he's definitely been around as a good pitcher in his career so far with the Phillies. He's accumulated 31.7 WAR. He's 90 and 71 with a 3.72 ERA. He's had his moments and he's had some very big games, but that doesn't mean he's also had a few smaller games in there where it didn't go according to plan. But he is one of the top pitchers available this free agency market, and even without that is a top player in baseball pitcher-wise. So, the Phillies get to keep their guy and hopefully continue to work with him and make him the best and eventually hopefully win a chip. That's kind of been the Phillies' goal these last 2 years or so. That's everyone's goal realistically, but yeah, Nola staying with the Phillies, a huge deal, so congrats to him. Moving on now, we've got two other players who did sign today, essentially. We'll start with Lynn, because that just happened. Stuff's still coming in. But Lynn is signing a 1-year deal with the Cardinals for about $10 million, and with a club option for 2025, pending a physical. Lynn, we saw kind of how he faded away with the White Sox towards the end here. He came in after having a year with the Yankees. He went to Texas, found his form with Cy Young, top 6 of Cy Young voting in 2019, 2020, and then with the White Sox, it was his second All-Star year in 2021, and he was 3rd in Cy Young voting there. His first All-Star came in his first full season in his career, and of course, that was with the Cardinals. Remember, Lynn debuted with the Cardinals back in 2011, and with his first 6 seasons there, he eventually moved on to Minnesota, and then going to Yankees, Texas, White Sox, and then right now finishing it with the Dodgers after being after signing the year there in 2023. He is back with St. Louis for his age 37 season. And, Lance Lynn, you kind of know what you're going to get. A guy who likes to eat innings over his career, a 29.8 WAR, 136 wins to 95 losses with a 3.74 ERA. He's definitely on the older side. He's coming towards the end of a career here, but he still has a little bit in the tank. Cardinals fans bring him back. He was part of that 2011 World Series with the Cardinals. I'm sure Cardinal fans are happy to see him return, even if it won't be, as good as he can be. Not that he won't be a good pitcher, but he's definitely not the type of pitcher he was back in his early days with the Cardinals and with the Rangers towards the end of the decade there. But he's not the only player to have signed. Ronaldo Lopez has signed with the Atlanta Braves for a 3-year, $30 million deal with an $8 million club option for 2027. Ronaldo Lopez, this is the guy who was kind of bounced around towards the end here with the White Sox. He started the year in 2023 with. And then after being traded to the Angels had their whole, we're sending away all the players we traded because we're not good anymore. And he ended up on Cleveland. So he played with 3 teams in the 2023 season. He's a guy that can get some innings for you out of the bullpen there. I'm not saying this is a bad move for the Braves. They're definitely trying to bulk up their bullpen with some former White Sox, first Aaron Bummer and now Ronaldo Lopez. I mean, his career ERA is 4.32, but he did have a decent 2023 with a 3.27 ERA and a 2.1 WAR. So he's definitely a pitcher that will come in, get a couple innings for you, and then come out. He has started some games in his past before. This year, even with the White Sox, he had a couple of starts, I believe. But, it's going to be a nice deal for the Braves. They're definitely just trying to bulk up certain parts of their team. They have their catcher in Sean Murphy. They have their right fielder in Acuna and Austin Riley and Albies, Olsen. Like, the guys there, a lot of them are already set in stone. So the Braves don't have to do much. They do have to do some reworkarounds with the pitching, which we'll talk about a little bit later on because they did make a few more trades in that department. But that's what they really have to hone down on and obviously watch for money, of course. So the Braves, they do sign Ronaldo Lopez. The Cardinals signed Lance Lynn. And, those are some signings that happened this week as well. All right, now let's talk about the Hall of Fame ballot that was just announced today. And going over the ballot, there's 12 new names on the ballot. And one guy who is on his 10th and final year, and that is Gary Sheffield. It's win or not for him. It's either you get in this year or you don't get in. And, it would be unfortunate. Gary Sheffield, obviously a wonderful career. Some of the guys joining this list: Jose Bautista, Adrian Beltre, Bartolo Colon, Adrian Gonzalez, Matt Holliday, Joe Mauer, Victor Martinez, Brandon Phillips, Jose Reyes, Chase Utley, and David Wright, as well as James Shields. I believe those are the 12 guys who are entering this year. Other guys still on the ballot here: Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, Andrew Jones, Manny Ramirez, Todd Helton, Billy Wagner is getting up there still. So yeah, it's gonna be a nice ballot this year. Not sure who's going to get in or not, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye out for this as we go through the offseason here. But hopefully Gary Sheffield in his 10th and final year does get in. But that is your 2024 Hall of Fame ballot. We'll keep in touch with that when more news comes out about it. Now, the next thing that we're going to be talking about will be Zack Britton and the fact that he has announced his retirement from baseball. He did it himself in an interview with the Athletics' Britt Guerroli. Sorry, I completely butchered that. I am awful with some last names sometimes. But yes, Britton has announced his retirement. He had a nice interview talking about his career, certain low points of it, certain high points, the struggles of it. and ended it by saying that he is finished playing baseball. And what a career he had. 12 years in the game, most of it with Baltimore. Did have 5 years with the Yankees towards the end. He was an all-star both in 2025 and 2026. Of course, that 2016 campaign. Did I say 2026? What am I saying? He was an all-star in 2015 and 2016. And of course, in 2016, he had one of the best seasons we'd ever seen from a reliever, having an all-star appearance there. He was 4th in Cy Young and 11th in MVP. His ERA 0.54. He had only given up 4 earned runs in 67 innings pitched. It was one of the best seasons someone has ever seen from a player. Of course, that was the season where Buck Showalter sent out Ubaldo Jimenez in the wild card game in extras instead of him, which the Blue Jays did beat on him and Encarnacion with the home run in that wild card game. But yes, Britton is done. He's accumulated 14 WAR over his career, 35 wins, 26 losses, 154 saves. He's pitched 641 innings in his career and a 3.13 ERA. One of the best left-handers kind of in the 2010s era, especially because of that 2016 season. Obviously, falling off with Baltimore, eventually trading to the Yankees in 2018, where he finished off his career there. But in Baltimore, 3.13 ERA, 3.22 ERA. Just a great closer, a great pitcher, and a great career for Zack Britton. So congrats on your retirement. Enjoy it, Britton. And that's that. Alrighty, now let's talk about that non-tender deadline that happened on Friday, which meant that some players were traded to other teams to avoid that conversation. So we'll go over the trades first that happened, starting with the Braves. They had 2 different trades sending pitchers to Kansas City. So the Royals are getting Nick Anderson from the Braves, as well as Kyle Wright from the Braves, in exchange for some cash considerations, as well as a prospect, Jackson Kowar. Now, Nick Anderson, we remember him with the Rays in the 2019 and 2020 seasons. He's a great relief pitcher and definitely one of the best if he can stay healthy. He's had some issues in that department. But Kyle Wright, on the other hand, a little bit more interesting, kind of like Mike Soroka in the sense of a young guy who has a lot of potential and a lot of stuff still, I feel like, left to give. He first made his debut in 2018, where he only pitched 6 innings in 4 games. 2019 and 2020, he was a little bit more prominent there. 2021, he only played in 2 games with a 6.1 innings. So, never really stuck, never really hung around enough. His ERA was always through the roof. But in 2022, that's when he finally broke out in his age 26 season, where he pitched 30 games, lodged 21 wins for the Braves, with an ERA of 3.19 in 180 innings. He was 10th in Cy Young voting. And then this year, of course, again, wasn't able to stay healthy. He only played in 9 games to a 6.97 ERA. I feel like there's a lot for him to give still. I'm hoping for the best for Wright, but he is off to Kansas City, as well as Nick Anderson from the Braves. Some other trades that happened, the Brewers are acquiring Jake Bauers from the Yankees for 2 minor league outfielders, Obviously, the Yankees, they need to do some reworking there. So the Brewers are able to get Bauers, kind of going to be a utility guy, 4th, 5th outfielder there. We talked about Cal Quantrill being DFA'd. Well, the Rockies are going to take him up on that. They're acquiring Cal Quantrill from the Guardians in exchange for Cody Huff, a prospect. Cal Quantrill, Canadian guy. We'll have to see him. Hopefully does well in Colorado. But we know what happens when a pitcher heads to Colorado. ERA will get higher for sure. I wanted to mention this one, even though it's not a crazy big trade at all. The Marlins are acquiring Vidal Brujan and Calvin Forsher from the Rays in exchange for Eric Lara and Andrew Lindsay. And for me, the name here is Vidal Brujan. I feel like this is a guy as well with a lot of potential and a lot of upside. And, with the Tampa Bay Rays, they always find these guys. He just hasn't had a chance to kind of get out there and show what he can do yet. So hopefully he gets a chance with the Marlins and he shines there because I really do like Vidal Brujan. Moving on, a couple other trades here. Scott Barlow is moving on from the Padres. He is heading to Cleveland in exchange for Enyel De Los Santos. A quick 1-for-1 swap. Obviously, Barlow being the slightly better pitcher would earn slightly more money. And with the Padres cap, and the Padres payroll, they're not willing to pay up that kind of money. So they'll do a quick swap there. And then the Mariners are acquiring Luis Urias from the Boston Red Sox in exchange for prospect Isaiah Campbell. Obviously, being that, Luis Urias was traded to Boston this year to see what he can do. And he played a decent second base for them, kind of bounced around there, but in the end, Boston is going to move on for him. And the Mariners, who recently lost Abraham Toro, will be able to kind of get that second baseman platoon guy that they might need for this season. So that would lead us now into talking about the non-tenders that happened on Friday. About 60 of them happened, and the full list of these players, if you're interested, are on MLB.com. I just picked out a handful here of the names that I thought were interesting. For those of you who don't know how the non-tenders work, basically, it's when a player is entering its arbitration years and a team doesn't want to deal with the arbitration or pay them the money that they could have on a deal. So they just kind of non-tender them, sending them to free agency. So all these names here, among the others that I don't say, are now free agents joining the already huge list of free agents. We have one special name here that I'm going to talk about. But going off, a couple of names that stood out to me: Luis Guillermo, Garrett Hampson, Mike Ford from the Mariners there, Austin Nola, catcher, Spencer Turnbull, Tim Hill, Dominic Smith, Jacob Stallings, Austin Meadows. Remember this guy with the Rays once upon a time ago. Big Burgers, Daniel Vogelback, he is joining that list as well. Adam Simber from the Blue Jays. We got Rowdy Tellez, a big bat there, powerful man. Josh Starmont from the Royals. Remember, this guy's got an electric fastball, just needs to work on his control, and he'd be a very good bullpen piece there. Nick Senzel from the Reds. Remember, once top prospect. And a great rookie of the year. He slowed down since and is now a free agent. And the most interesting name on this list, of course, is Brandon Woodruff from your Brewers. This is a guy who is very good. His career of 7 years, he's a 3.10 ERA, 46 wins and 26 losses. Obviously dealt with some injury this year, only played in 11 games, but pitched to a 2.28 ERA. And if that doesn't surprise, or if that doesn't stand out as good, last year in 27 starts, a 3.05 ERA, and the year before that, in 2021, 30 starts, a 2.56 ERA. He was an all-star and fifth in Cy Young voting, so a very good pitcher hits the free agency market. It's a very interesting decision by the Brewers to non-tender Woodruff. He's a very good pitcher, and any team would be lucky to sign him. He joins a list of already some great starting pitchers, including Yamamoto, who we'll talk about shortly here. But yeah, it was definitely a surprise here to see Woodruff on the non-tenders list. Austin Meadows is another guy that, it doesn't shock me, but it's just like these are guys with a lot of potential still. I feel like these guys that I've seen play really well and who have been playing really well, and I would love to see them at the best that they can provide. So hopefully they can turn it around, sign with a new team, and have some success there. But yeah, those are our non-tenders. And the last bit of news to go over here is that Yoshinobu Yamamoto has officially been posted. MLB teams have been notified, and the window begins tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. MLB clubs have 45 days to sign the 25-year-old, 26-year-old, the right-hander. superstar from the NPB, I believe, the Japanese baseball league. I forget which letters it is. I think it's the NPB. Which means they'll have until January 4th to sign the superstar. And, you know, any team is going to be lucky to have this guy. This guy is a star. And he was going to be a really good star here as well in the MLB. Multiple teams, you know, like the Yankees, Dodgers, Mets, they've already expressed interest. But even teams like the Diamondbacks and the Tigers have interest in him as well. So we'll definitely have to see how all of those rumors and all that stuff goes about. But one lucky team will most likely sign the star here. And, you know, people think it will be the Yankees. We'll have to see, though, where he ends up going to. And speaking of going to, I'm also going to go to. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to today's episode. I've been quite busy with school, so I haven't been really making these episodes the way I had wanted to. Kind of very short episodes, kind of very fast paced. You know, we only talked about Nola for like 2-3 minutes. I want to be able to give more in-depth takes and more discussions with certain free agents. And I just haven't been able to do that yet. So hopefully I'm able to, you know, go about doing that. Hopefully I can handle that and get some time to do so. If you guys have any suggestions of things I should be doing or things that I should be talking about more, leave them in the comments. But I appreciate you all very, very, very much. Thank you, everybody, so much. And I will see you next time.